What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Good to have Jimmy back on. Your first show on the new computer. I had it on Friday. Since we didn't do any the first week I had it, but it's a good time. No freezes. We roll smooth. So, another crazy weekend in football, man. College and NFL was ridiculous. The amount of upsets was crazy, and rivalry week's coming up in college football this weekend, so I'm sure we will get some more upsets as we head toward conference championship weekend next week. In 2 weeks, I should say. But yeah, UTSA on Friday getting us kicked off 51-27 thrashing of Temple. They just fired their head coach, and UTSA, the Roadrunners, are one of the hottest teams in the country, really. I mean, Owen McCown has been on fire. Wasn't the greatest in this one, but ran the ball well. Robert Henry, 178 yards, 2 tuds on the ground. The Roadrunners ran their way to the victory in this one. Big receiving night for Temple. The one lone bright spot, Dante Wright there, 5 for 128, 2 scores. And defensively, there was a lot of great performances. I got to go with, dude, how about Roadrunners linebacker Jamori Robinson, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 4 sacks, and 5.5 tackles for loss. Man was a beast out there for UTSA. And props to Chris Carpenter, the wide receiver for UTSA as well, 97-yard kick return touchdown. Although he did have a fumble in the game as well. UTSA minus 17.5 covered, over 55.5, 78. Michigan State, Sparty is now 1 game closer to bowl eligibility, 24-17 over Purdue. Yeah, they really let this one slip away. They were up 24-7, I think, and then second half they allowed Purdue to score 10 unanswered and made it a 1-score game in the end. But yeah, Aiden Childs, it was not a good night. Sub 50% completion. Did throw 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. That was the big thing for him. Hudson Card really had a decent night for the Boilermakers. I know it's a tough season for them, but 55.3%, 342 touchdown and a pick. Lynch Adams there led the game in rushing for Sparty. Purdue really wasn't able to run the ball at all. You see Devin Mockabee was their leading rusher, just 14 yards on 9 carries, had to really throw it a lot. I was impressed by Purdue tight end Max Clare, though. He's going to be a star for them coming up if he doesn't transfer, obviously. That's always a big factor. 7 for 83 and a touchdown, second leading receiver in the game. Defensively, I am going to go with Purdue linebacker Kydron Jenkins, 9 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Purdue plus 14.5 covered, under 50.5. Number 24, UNLV, 27-16 over San Jose State. Yeah, I lone wolfed the Spartans in this one. I think if it wouldn't have been for the weather, they would have had a lot better chance. It was a rainy night in California on Friday, and it really made both teams change their entire offense because both were really high-flying passing attacks, more so on San Jose State's part, and they really were not able to throw the ball efficiently at all. This is probably the worst completion percentage I've ever seen out of a starting quarterback throwing a normal amount of passes in a game. 18.2% for Walker Eaget. 81 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. And I thought it was going good. San Jose State, man, they were leading 16-10. I believe going into halftime. I can't remember if it was in the third quarter or halftime. But, yeah, they were up. They got a safety. And, yeah, it just fell apart. UNLV really got their offense rolling in the second half. Props to Jaden Thomas, the running back for the Rebels, 26 carries, 135, a touchdown. He was the catalyst for it. Of course, Ricky White was a monster as well, 7 for 98 receiving. And then defensively, got to go with San Jose State defensive back Isaiah Rivas, 7 tackles, 5 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defense, 40-yard pick 6. No, Jimmy, I do not know if he is related to Darrell.
Time to find out.
UNLV covered -7.5, under 59.5. On Saturday, number 2 Ohio State 38-15 over number 5 Indiana. And I mean, I will say this: Ohio State didn't win this game. Indiana won the game for Ohio State because it was, I mean, as great of a start as you could have wanted for Indiana. They got a stop, a 3-and-out on defense, went down right down the field and scored a touchdown, went up 7-0. And then, it just fell apart. A fumble from Curtis Rourke. He got strip sacked. The frickin' punter, the ball going right through his hands. There's no explanation for that. So, yeah, I mean, it was just self-inflicted wounds. The penalties as well killed him all day. What I was surprised at, Indiana was actually able to run the ball pretty well. You see Tyson Lawton there leading the game in rushing, 79 yards on 15 carries, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for 9 yards as well. But the passing game struggled all day. They just could not get open besides the first drive. Curtis Rourke, 44.4%, 68 yards in that fumble I mentioned. Will Howard, ultra efficient, but the yards per completion was really low, 84.6%, 201, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a rushing touchdown. So, yeah, I mean, again, I wanted Indiana to win. I thought Indiana could win, and they looked like they could, especially in the first quarter. But you just can't have the mistakes that they did against a top 5 opponent on the road.
Mm-hmm.
What you got for Ohio State?
Not much. I mean, sure, there are self-inflicted wounds, but when IU did have the chance, they didn't show up. I mean, Curtis Rourke had his worst game of the season, and they really couldn't get anything going until garbage time when, Ohio State just gifted them a touchdown. I still think this team still has an argument to make the playoffs, but you gotta really make up for this game in the next week. And I mean, you have a cupcake team next week that you should beat by 40, and if you want to make the playoffs, you gotta win by 40.
Yeah, they're playing Northwestern, right?
Yeah, I think so. So I mean, you gotta trounce them if you want to make the playoffs, because Ohio State was the first, I think, even ranked team they've played all year, and they lost by 3 scores. It's like you gotta at least convince some of the voting committee that you could show up against other ranked teams.
Yeah, the only ranked team that they're going to play this year. Mm-hmm. And the only team with a winning record besides Washington, mm-hmm. who is 6-5. Actually, Michigan now as well. Michigan is 6-5 as well. No, they play Purdue, so that sets up well. Sets up very well.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you don't beat Purdue by 40, then it could get frustrating for your argument.
The spread is only 29.5 right now, Jimmy. I don't know.
If they want to make a statement, you gotta beat them by 40. It's got to be like, I'm not even kidding, like 56-3, 49, 49-3, something like that. You got to really put them away.
I mean, I kind of agree, but at the same time, I still think Indiana should be in.
I agree. I think
there are other games. I mean, I know you can't control the schedule. That's what my argument is to everyone on the schedule. You can't control the schedule. You got to play who you play.
yeah. I mean, with games we've seen this week, teams have played bad teams and still lost, so they win the games in front of them. So
right, and this was their first loss. They had dominated every single opponent up until the Michigan game 2 weeks ago, where they still won, but is a lot tougher win. And this game was on the road, so I think that comes into play as well. And also with, like you said, the losses by some other teams that dropped a couple of teams to 3 losses. I think Indiana, with only 1 loss against the number 2 team in the country on the road, if they get 11-1, I still think they should be in. Go Michigan this week, Jimmy. Go Michigan. Go Blue. Biggest Michigan fan here this weekend. Cody Simon, though, is my defensive player of the game for Ohio State. Linebacker, had 10 tackles, 4 solos, 2.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Caleb Downs. Okay, Jimmy, one more BS thing on here. That was the biggest bullshit punt return touchdown I've seen. There were 3 penalties that the freaking refs, 2 blocking the backs at the point of attack, and then they missed a blatant holding call down the sideline where the man was pulling away and got ripped down. So yeah, that was BS. Nice $20 million budget set aside for officiating. I see in Ohio State's books there. Good to have it. Ohio State minus 10.5 covered, over 51.5. Luckily, I had right on 53 under, but pushed. I had under 52.5 in one as well, which I got pissed at because they just had to score late. Number 8, Miami, 42-14 over Wake Forest. Yeah, this one, I was rooting for Wake, man. I want Clemson to be in the ACC championship game because I think they can win if they would get there. And the only way they get there is if Miami loses one more and Clemson wins out. And I thought it was going to be this one. Wake had them. They were there. It was a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter. And Miami just blew them out in the fourth quarter. But again, Cam Ward, I think his Heisman is done. He just does not have the stats. He's not putting up the type of numbers that he was, even though he did become what I think it was like Miami's all-time leading passer in a season in this one or something like that. I don't know. But I think now it's a two-horse race. Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty. So we'll talk about those guys in a second. 100-yard day for Jordan Lyle on the Hurricanes rushing attack, 7 carries, 115, touchdown, 3-yard reception. How about Damon Claiborne for Wake Forest, leading the game with 62 rushing yards for them. Did have a fumble, but 100-yard kick return touchdown. 2-touchdown day for Miami wide receiver Jacoby George. And the monster game there for Miami defensive back Michelle Powell. 3 tackles, all of them solos, sack, tackle for loss, 2 pass defense, and a 76-yard pick 6. Miami minus 23.5 covered, under 65.5. I hate Florida so much. Although it does help Georgia.
Bowl eligible, baby.
They have no reason for being in a bowl game right now. Florida 24-17 over number 9 Ole Miss. Logan knew something because he lone wolfed them.
He had insider information.
Yeah. But now, Ole Miss has to be out. They're done. They are done.
Mm-hmm.
There is only, which I'll talk about in a second. There is only one team, and I talked to multiple people about this. There's only one team in the country that can afford 3 losses and still make the playoff, and that's Georgia. But Ole Miss just doesn't have the wins. And the losses, one of them was to Kentucky. So there you go. Jackson Dart actually really didn't have a bad day. The 2 interceptions costly though, both in the fourth quarter when they were trying to come back and tie the game. 100-yard day for Montreal Johnson Jr. for the Gators, 18 carries, 107, a touchdown. Ole Miss, it was a big issue. They couldn't run the ball. That was their biggest issue in this one. Their leading rusher, besides Jackson Dart, was a wide receiver, Micah Davis, 27 yards on 11 carries. So yeah, that was the biggest hurdle that the Rebels could not overcome. Defensively, let's go with, how about Florida defensive lineman Caleb Banks, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, and 1 pass defense. 2 picks though, 14 tackles for Bryce Thornton there for Florida, sealed the game in the fourth quarter. Gators plus 13.5 went outright under 57.5. The first of a couple of upsets this weekend. This one was not. Number 13 SMU 33-7 thrashing of Virginia, clinching their spot in the ACC title game. That's just crazy. I forget who it was that always says it about first year going into a conference. Was it you or Logan? I don't know. I don't remember. It's always tough, but SMU, they say they don't care. They're the defending AAC champs, and now they're going to try to win back-to-back conference titles in a different conference in the second year in a row. But yeah, this offense has been outstanding since Kevin Jennings took over early in the year. 75.8%, 323, 2 touchdowns, a pick, a rushing touchdown, and a fumble. Brashard Smith has been a revelation this year, transitioning from wide receiver to running backs, had a great year. And defensively, I am going to go with SMU defensive end Isaiah Smith, 5 tackles, 2 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. SMU minus 10.5 covered, under 53.5. Number 25, Illinois, 38-31 over Rutgers. Dude, this was the most pitiful ending I have ever witnessed in a game. Like, I have no answers for what the hell Rutgers was doing. I support wholeheartedly Coach Schiano's decision to take a timeout on the field goal, ice the kicker. It's most coaches' philosophy. 58-yarder. He misses it on the ice. But then the defense, where there's not a lot of time left, I think it was like 16 seconds or something like that left in the game. There's not that much time left. And you're playing like a prevent defense, which makes no sense because I don't think Illinois had any timeouts left. So, and the fact of the matter is, like, you got to tackle, man. I don't understand. Like, someone has to tackle. You have 11 guys on the field. Someone's got to tackle the receiver and bring him down short to win the game. And they just let him run right through the entire defense. It's classic Rutgers football, to be honest. But, yeah, it was gross to watch. As someone that was on the Rutgers side, yeah, you lone wolfed the Illini. But yeah, it was gross. And also, though, it does help Penn State. Illinois keeps winning. Illinois gets ranked higher, helps Penn State as their best win of the season. But yeah, I was surprised. The rushing numbers. I wasn't surprised the rushing 74 yards touchdown from Luke Altmaier. When I looked at the stats, I was like, bro, I don't think I've ever seen Ethan Kaliak-Manis run for this many yards in a game. 13 carries, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. Yeah, he, to me, has always been kind of a statue pocket passer. but got some legs apparently. And the thing is, Rutgers should have won this game. They did exactly what I said they needed to do to win this one. Kyle Monungai ran wild. Like I said, he needed to on Friday. 28 carries, 122, 3 catches, 23 yards, a touchdown. Had an excellent game. That's the man that the Rutgers offense runs through, but the defense was terrible for Greg Schiano, and that's on him because that's his side of the ball. Like that's what he's been brought up through is defense, and not good. How about Pat Bryant, the guy that won the game? Just ridiculous. 7 for 197 and a touchdown. Defensively, there was not a ton. I'm going to go with Illinois defensive back Jaheim Clark, 2 tackles, both of them solos, and 2 pass defense. Illinois plus 2.5 wins outright over 47.5, 69. Syracuse getting it done 31-24 over UConn. Kyle McCord. Kyle McCord has been outstanding the last couple of games. 78.7%, 470. 2 touchdowns and a rushing score, no turnovers, just throwing it all around the field in this one because they couldn't really run the ball. LaQuint Allen, 2.9 yards per carry on his 20 carries. And, of course, with that many passing yards, you're going to have a bunch of 100-yard receivers. 3 of them for the Qs. UConn also had 1. Darrell Gill Jr. for Syracuse, 9 for 177. Skylar Bell for the Huskies, 10 for 113. Jackson Meeks for Syracuse, 7 for 110. And, of course, the man himself, the man that is the best player that Syracuse has, receiving-wise, tight end Aronde Gadsden II, 11 for 103 and a touchdown. Defensively, I'm going with Syracuse defense back Clarence Lewis, 6 tackles, all of them solos, 3 pass defense. UConn plus 9.5 covers over 53.5. Jacksonville State, how about the Gamecocks? They are going to the Conference USA Championship game, 21-11 over Sam Houston State. Hunter Watson, it was a tough day against that Gamecocks defense. Tyler Huff really didn't throw the ball at all, 54 yards passing. But, man, that boy can run. 30 carries, 177 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This guy is crazy, man, running the ball. He's big. He's physical for a quarterback. You just don't see that kind of stuff very often. And he got 1 yard shy of a 100-yard performance for his running back, Trey Stewart, 27 carries, 99 yards, 7-yard reception as well. And defensively, I'm going with the top guy there, Sam Houston, linebacker Kavian Gaither. How about 17 tackles, 12 of them solos, and 3 tackles for loss? That's quite the game. I mean, when the opposing quarterback runs 30 times, you're gonna get a lot of tackling opportunities. And this one was big for Sam Houston because they are trying to get to the CUSA championship as well. So they play Liberty this weekend, and what they need is they need to beat Liberty, obviously, but they also need Western Kentucky to lose to Jacksonville State. So it's a big thing. We'll see. I think Jacksonville is an interesting one because obviously they're not going to be the group of 5. They're not going to be that 5th conference champion because they're not even ranked, right? So with that in mind, I know you want to win all the games, right? But do you sit your guys for, you kind of get a mini bye week there going into the Conference USA Championship game because you're not going to be in the playoff. So why would you even need to, win necessarily? The only thing that would be is I think Jacksonville State has never won 9 games in a season in their program. That would be one, but obviously you have a chance. You have 2 chances, bowl game and the Conference USA Championship. Because the opposing side of that, Western Kentucky, which we'll talk about, they need to win and have Sam Houston beat Liberty. So that's just the opposite thing. And then Liberty, obviously, they just win. They get in. But because they already beat Western Kentucky beat Sam Houston. Sam Houston lost to both. So Yeah, that's the scenarios for the Conference USA title game there. Go Dogs, number 10, Georgia, 59-21 over UMass. Not much to say here. What I will say is, why were we dicking around with UMass in the first quarter? I don't know. They went down 7-0 and 14-7, and I don't know what we were doing. Turned it on, though. Carson Beck, 4 touchdowns, just shy of 300 yards passing. Excellent day for him. Excellent day for the freshman as well. Nate Frazier, dude, I like this kid a lot. He's going to be a stud. That long line of Georgia running backs, he's going to add to that. Just gets better and better with every game. 21 carries, 136, 3 touchdowns, and 11-yard reception. You had a 100-yard day for UMass running back Jalen John as well, 9 for 107, touchdown and a fumble. Arian Smith went over 100 receiving in this one, 3 for 110 and a touchdown. Jacoby Keeney James for the Minutemen also over 100 receiving, 3 for 101 and a score. And defensively, it's the touchdown score there. UGA linebacker Chris Cole, 3 tackles, 1 solo, and a 28-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Guess what? The Georgia Bulldogs are in the SEC championship game because we got some help. So, I will not be there, though, unfortunately. I would like to. I can't afford to go down again, though. By the way, I forgot to say, Jacksonville State covered -5.5, under 57.5. Georgia, UMass covered, which I told everyone to do that. I told everyone take UMass in this game. Georgia doesn't cover those big spreads normally, so UMass plus 42.5 was a great play for anyone that got it. I did not play it, unfortunately. Over 55.5, Dogs by themselves. Another one in the SEC, Cupcake Week 11, number 11, Tennessee, 56-0 over UTEP. Won some money on this game. Tennessee spread. Tennessee, the over in the game as well was fantastic to hit. Nico, 4 touchdowns for him in this one. Passing, 73.9% completion. Dylan Sampson, 7 yards per rush on 11 carries, touchdown. 2 touchdown day for the freshman, Peyton Lewis, the running back there for the Volunteers. And 2 touchdown day for Tennessee wide receiver Brew McCoy. Not much else to say. Defensively, Tennessee defensive lineman James Pierce Jr., 4 tackles, 3 solos, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Tennessee -41.5 covered, over 54.5. Mentioned this one already. Liberty 38-21, crushing Western Kentucky. And again, like I said, putting Western on the brink now, needing help, needing Liberty to beat Sam Houston this weekend, and they need to beat Jacksonville State. Again, it's interesting. Does JSU play their players or don't they? Because if they don't, and Western beats them, and Liberty beats Sam Houston, and Sam Houston beats Liberty, then they're going to play Western in back-to-back weeks for Jacksonville State. So that's an interesting dynamic there. And you could have your guys rested against guys that had to play, the week before. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch, see what Rich Rodriguez does there this coming weekend. But tough day for Caden Veltkamp, 3 picks. 2 touchdowns, though. Caden Salter really didn't have to do a lot. The running game was excellent for the Flames in this one. Quentin Cooley, Billy Lucas ran completely wild in this one. Cooley, 24 for 166, 2 touchdowns, a fumble. Lucas, 19 for 131 and a touchdown. And the Flames in total ran for 419 yards and 4 touchdowns. So that's rough on the Western Kentucky defense. Speaking of defense, I'm going to go with Liberty. Corner Amarian Williams, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 2 pass defense, and 2 picks. Got to give props to Western Kentucky, though. Defensive back Devontae Matthews, 16 tackles. Half of those were solos. Liberty -1.5 covered, over 55.5. Number 3, Texas, getting it done, 31-14 over Kentucky. 1 step closer to the SEC championship game. not a lot passing wise. Quinn Ewers, 2 touchdowns. He's been weird the last couple of weeks. It's just like they've been good enough to win. Like it was a close one against Arkansas 2 weeks ago. 17-point victory in this one, but Kentucky's not a great team. Got a great game by Quintravian Wisner, though, the running back. 26 carries, 158, touchdown, 2 catches for -9 yards. Jaden Blue, their other running back, just 4 yards short of 100 for him, 96 on 15 carries, touchdown, and a fumble there. This was another rushing attack game. Not as great as Liberty, but still they ran for 251 and 2 touchdowns, 5.5 yards per carry there. Not a lot passing wise. 2 touchdown day for tight end Gunnar Helm for the Horns. And defensively, I got to go with 2 players here, 1 on each side. Texas linebacker Anthony Hill Jr., the sophomore, 11 tackles, 7 solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Linebacker Jamon Dumas Johnson. You should have never left, Jamon. I mean, I don't know what Kentucky was paying you, but you could have been on the Georgia team that's going back to the SEC title game. Just saying. 8 tackles, 4 solos, 25-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Kentucky plus 18.5 covered, under 46.5. Number 4, Penn State getting it done, 26-25 over Minnesota. Yeah, and I'll take it, pick it up from the fourth quarter. The last drive of the game was just masterful from James Franklin. The cojones to run the 4th and 1 fake punt play, which I don't know about you, Jimmy. I saw it coming. I'm pretty sure a lot of people saw it coming, but at the same time, to actually do it is something else. Got 2 4th down conversions on the final drive to run the clock entirely out, including just a pretty play action pass on 4th and short on the second one to Tyler Warren to win the game. Wish he would have scored. I had Penn State team total over 27.5. So that was rough. But yeah, again, it was just resiliency. Penn State's one of, if not the best, second half team in the country. And they got it done, and they won. That's all they needed to do. And they got a shot. They got a shot still. Big Ten championship game. Go blue, baby. Because they play Maryland in Happy Valley this weekend. So, yeah, like I said, that's the scenario. Ohio State, they play Michigan. That's at the Big House, right? Or is it in Columbus?
Let's see. I think schedule. I think it's at the Horseshoe.
Okay. Still, go blue. And Penn State win. Ohio State loss. They are into the Big Ten championship game. But yeah, Tyler Warren, leading receiver in this one, 100 yards, 8 for 102, 2 carries for 0 yards as well. I didn't watch Bowling Green's last game, but I'm hoping, man. I still have hopes. I think Tyler Warren still got a good shot. He definitely should be a finalist for the Mackey Award. It's really him and Fannin. I really don't think there's any tight end that's really in their sphere right now. So hopefully he can win it. That'd be pretty cool to see Tyler Warren win the Mackey Award. And defensively, I'm going to go with Minnesota defensive lineman Anthony Smith, 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Minnesota plus 11.5 covered, over 45.5. Yeah. Number 21, Arizona State, 28-23 over number 14, BYU. Dude, I thought for sure the Mormon Magic was going to get it done when they said 1 second was left on the clock. And that was the most chaotic ending to a game I've probably seen ever. To have the entire field stormed. And then the officials are like, guys, we got 1 second left on the clock, guys. And then you had to get all those kids off the field and back into the stands. They didn't even get them back into the stands. They kind of got them cleared off the field. And it was funny to watch when they were setting up for the final play. You just saw all these students around the end zones just trying to stay off the field as much as they could. And then it was rough, too, because it's like, bro, they got the completed pass. Oh, just 2 yards short. That was tough. But I think it was encouraging for BYU. I mean, they were down big in this one. And to come back, make it a 5-point game. And also what was tough as well, two-point conversions they missed. So even hitting one would have got them to a field goal game. Not that they could have kicked a field goal from where they were, but it would have been a totally different mindset going into the final drive that they had prior to the Arizona State thing. But yeah, Big 12 is weird now. It's been weird all year. And I thought BYU is going to be a lock to make the conference championship game at 9-0. And now here we are going into the last week of the regular season, and they're not. So there are 4 teams in play, technically. I didn't get what Iowa State needs to happen. But I do have what BYU, Arizona State, and Colorado need to happen. Arizona State has the simplest path. They just win. They beat Arizona this week, and they're in. That's the easiest one. For BYU, they need to win and have either Arizona State lose to Arizona or Iowa State lose I can't recall who Iowa State plays this week. We'll go over these again on Friday, but Iowa State needs to lose against Kansas State. For Colorado, theirs is a lot more complicated because of their loss, which we'll talk about in a hot sec. They need to win and have 2 of 3 teams lose, BYU, Arizona State, and Iowa State. If 2 of those 3 teams lose and Colorado wins, they are in. So it's really weird in the Big 12 right now. And we shall see how it all shakes out. Anyways, to this game, Cam Scattaboo, that's the man of the game. 28 carries, 147, 3 touchdowns, 3 catches for 12 yards. He was a beast. 200-yard receivers, 1 apiece. Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson, 9 for 125. Darius Lassiter for BYU, 5 for 103. 2 touchdown rushing for BYU wide receiver Keelan Marion. And defensively, I am going to go with Arizona State defensive back Javon Robinson. 5 tackles, all of them solos, 2 pass defense, and 1 pick. Arizona State minus 3.5 covered. Over 48.5, and Logan, I believe, got us on that one. Yeah, Logan. Told you we talk about Colorado and hot second. Kansas. They're the hottest team in the freaking country right now. I mean, 4 straight wins. I think 3 straight wins, something like that. And they're dominating. 37-21 over number 16, Colorado. And yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about Colorado. We in the Big 12 championship game, playoff. Well, yeah, the playoff's out now. They have 3 losses. They don't have big enough wins to support a playoff run unless they make the Big 12 title and get the automatic bid. However, I will say, although I'm an Ashton Genty Heisman truther, Travis Hunter did have stats in this one. worthy to keep him in play. Shedeur Sanders also had a great day, 3 touchdown passes. But just like the last game we talked about, the Arizona State game, this was a running back game. Devin Neal just ripped through the Buffaloes defense. 37 carries, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns. And oh, by the way, 4 receptions for 80 yards and a receiving touchdown. So 41 times he touched the ball in this game. 287 total yards, 4 total touchdowns. That's a hell of a game for Devin Neal. Colorado couldn't run the ball worth anything. Shedeur Sanders was the leading rusher with just 26 yards. Mentioned Travis Hunter. He did have a game. He did 8 for 125, 2 touchdowns defensively, 7 tackles, 3 solos, and 1 pass defense. So good numbers there. And defensively, I'm going with Kansas. Corner Kobe Bryant, 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 tackles lost, 2 pass defense. Not the first Kobe Bryant we will be talking about today. Kansas plus 1.5 wins outright. Under 59.5, 58. Number 17, Clemson, beating up on the Citadel, 51-14. Cade Klubnik was really good, 75%, 3 touchdowns. 20% passing for Jonathan Bennett, the Citadel's quarterback there. 100-yard day for Jay Haynes for the Tigers, 5 for 118, 2 touchdowns. 2-touchdown day for Clemson wide receiver Antonio Williams. And defensively, how about the big man, defensive tackle Peyton Page? 1 tackle. It was a solo and a 57-yard pick 6 for the big man. Also got a shout out Barrett Carter. He ran a 4-yard touchdown in on offense, having some fun on a blowout. Citadel covered, though. The Citadel did cover plus 48.5. And the over 58.5 hit because they got 2 touchdowns. They got 2 scores for the Citadel. Number 18, South Carolina, 56-12 over Wofford. Tough day for the Terriers there. Lenora Sellers was outstanding for South Carolina, though. 307, 3 touchdowns to go along with 85.2% completion. And he had a rushing touchdown, so 4 total for Sellers in this one. Rocket Sanders got in the end zone for the Gamecocks. 100-yard day, though, receiving for Wofford. 2 of their receivers there. Kyle Watkins, 6 for 133. Delvon Campbell for SC had 100 yards as well, 5 for 120. Defensively, I'm going to go with the bottom guy, South Carolina edge rusher Brian Thomas Jr., 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. South Carolina covered minus 42.5, over 49.5 by themselves. Number 23, Mizzou, 39-20 over Mississippi State. Brady Cook looking decent. 1 touchdown pass for him, 75% completion. 100-yard day for Bulldogs running back Devon Booth, 12 for 124 and a touchdown. Just shy of 100 for Mizzou running back Nate Noel, 25 for 95. 3 touchdown day for his counterpart, Marcus Carroll there. Tigers running back. And not a lot to talk about receiving wise. Defensively, though, I got to go with Mizzou safety Dalen Carnell, 4 tackles, 1 solo, 68-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Missouri minus 9.5 covered, over 57.5. Good Lord. Number 6 Notre Dame, 49-14 over number 19 Army. I guess everyone hates the United States because the Army didn't win. So in Yankee Stadium, of all places, they didn't win. Just horrendous. Unpatriotic.
Well, the home team in the Yankee Stadium tends to lose in, cold games this time of year.
Unpatriotic. Notre Dame couldn't let them win.
Yeah.
The dang Irish take everything from us.
It's what we do. Yeah. Vengeance for all the discrimination we experienced.
Riley Leonard, it wasn't even him, dude. I mean, he had 2 touchdown passes. Notre Dame couldn't, or Army couldn't stop the running attack. It was crazy. I was listening to most of this game. I turned it off at halftime because I knew where it was going. So Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price just shredded them. 7 carries for 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6-yard receiving touchdown for Love. Price, 2 touchdowns rushing as well. You got to give it up to Bryson Daly, though. He didn't quit. Captain America, as some people call him, because he plays for Army. While the passing stats were not great. The man knows how to run the ball. 39 carries, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a fumble. So that was one bright spot for the Black Knights in this one. Defensively, I was kind of surprised there wasn't a lot of stats in this one and a lot of big tackle numbers for Notre Dame, considering how many times Daly ran the ball. But leading tackler, just 8 tackles there for Aiden Schuler, the safety for Notre Dame. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame corner Christian Gray. 2 tackles, both solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass defensed. Notre Dame minus 14.5 covered over 44.5. Yeah, it's gonna be very intriguing to watch the rankings tomorrow night, because I know there's a lot of people calling for Notre Dame to jump up to 4 ahead of Penn State, which that's okay. I don't care. It's fine. If you want to do that, cool. It doesn't really matter to me. What I will say is they both have 1 loss, and Penn State lost to the number 2 team. Remind me again, Jimmy, who did Notre Dame lose to?
Ooh, some absolute juggernaut of the MAC. Formerly Rusty's Huskies. NIU, baby.
In South Bend, by the way. In South Bend.
At home.
Penn State's loss was also at home, but again, to the number 2 team in the country. But yeah, that is why I would say I would halt that, because of when you compare the 1 loss, not close.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana's 1 loss is more impressive, and they had a similar strength of schedule.
Yeah, that's the thing. Notre Dame doesn't have a schedule. Like, this was the game for them, really, because other than that, they kicked the shit out of Navy, which was ranked at the time, but they have since lost a bunch. They took a big hit because A&M lost this weekend. So A&M's going to go even further down than they were at 15. Louisville is not ranked anymore, which was ranked at the time. Notre Dame beat them by 1 touchdown. So, yeah, they literally, depending on if the committee keeps Army in the rankings, Notre Dame could have 0 wins against current top 25 teams. Well, actually, A&M, I think, will stay in the rankings. But it's still lower than what they could have been. Notre Dame, I already said 44.5 by themselves. Notre Dame cover minus 14.5. Number 12, Boise State, squeaking by 17-13 over Wyoming. And this is why Boise's getting lucky that teams above them are losing, because they've been doing this thing for a couple weeks now. Nevada 2 weeks ago, Wyoming this week. I don't know what they're doing. These are teams that they should be annihilating, and they're just not, for some stupid reason that I don't know. Ashton Genty did get banged up in this game, so maybe that was an issue. But 19 for 169, touchdown, 4-yard reception as well. It's not good enough. It's not good enough, Ashton. Like, if you want to win the Heisman, you have to wow the voters. And what he will probably have in his book is an extra game to wow the voters. Because I am banking on Colorado not making the Big 12 title game. I think Iowa State or BYU is going to get in with Arizona. Or Arizona State. But yeah, he's got to do better. And especially when they play the Mountain West Championship game, because they clinched their spot with this win. He's got to show up and show out in the Mountain West Championship. Defensively, I got to go with Boise defensive end Ahmed Hassanine, 4 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. He's having a great season. He's been on the board multiple times when we talk about Boise State. By the way, their opponent, we didn't talk about this when we talked UNLV game, but it's pretty simple for UNLV. Essentially, if UNLV wins this coming week, they're going to be in the Mountain West title game. Their easiest path is if they win and Colorado State loses. Colorado State essentially needs to win and have UNLV lose. Because if they both win, because Colorado State lost this week, so now they both have 1 loss in Mountain West play. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head, but they haven't played. The second tiebreaker is CFP ranking, which Colorado State is nowhere near the CFP rankings. And UNLV will continue to be ranked because they won this week. So, yeah, it's essentially if UNLV wins, they're going to be in. Which is what everyone wants. Everyone wants to see UNLV Boise State for a second time this year because it was a pretty solid game the first time around. Wyoming plus 25.5, covered under 54.5. Oklahoma, this is where the shockers of the night started. The Sooners blasting Alabama, number 7 Alabama, 24-3. Yeah. Jalen Milroe, your Heisman, Jimmy.
It's over.
Had a great night. 3 interceptions, 42.3%. The Sooners didn't even have to throw the ball. I mean, Jackson Arnold, when he did throw the ball, was very accurate, 81.8%. Only 68 yards, though. But how about 25 carries, 131 yards for Jackson Arnold? That's Jalen Milroe stuff. And I don't know. I didn't watch this game, but did like Oklahoma go back to the wishbone offense, or did they start running the quarterback again?
Perhaps.
But yeah, Xavier Robinson had a great 100-yard night for himself as well for the Sooners. 18 for 107, 2 touchdowns, 4 catches for 20 yards. And this was a program-defining win for Brett Venables. This is the type of win that you need when, he's not really in the early stages anymore of his Oklahoma days. He's in his second or third year. Third year, I think. Could be wrong. But still trying to build the program back up. And this type of win you need to get high-level recruits to commit and whatnot. Defensively, it's the guy that didn't have a tackle, but 49-yard pick 6 for linebacker Kip Lewis on the Oklahoma side cemented the win in this game. And yeah, just like Alabama's out. They're out, just like Ole Miss. They have 3 losses, and I don't think their losses are good enough to get them in with some of the other teams that are there. Oklahoma plus 14.5, wins outright under 46.5. Auburn I was listening / watching the end of this game because I was like, damn, is Auburn really going to do it? 43-41 over number 15 Texas A&M. 4 overtimes. This is the longest game we've had in a while. Definitely the longest game this year. I don't think anyone has gone past double overtime this year. And how about the Tigers, right? They needed 2 wins to get bowl eligible. They got 1. Now, all they got to do is go play in the Iron Bowl this weekend against Alabama, who just lost. And I have to check, is this thing, if it is in Jordan-Hare, I am just saying, I might be picking Auburn. Because, oh, nope, it's in Tuscaloosa. Nope, yeah, no. They're going to lose that one. But this one was in Jordan-Hare, and that's why weird stuff happens. Nick Saban doesn't like going to Jordan-Hare Stadium because there are ghosts, he says. Peyton Thorne was really good. 301, 2 touchdowns, a pick, 61.3%. Marcel Reed, to be honest, the freshman actually wasn't bad. 62.9%, 297, 3 touchdowns, a pick, 66 rushing yards as well. Jarquez Hunter was fantastic for the Tigers. 28 carries, 133 touchdowns, 4 receptions for 23 yards. You had 2 300-yard receivers. Auburn with 2 of them. Cam Coleman led the game with 7 for 128, 2 touchdowns. Keandre Lambert-Smith, my guy coming over from Penn State this year to Auburn, 2 for 104. Noah Thomas for the Aggies, 5 for 124, 2 touchdowns as well. And this game was fun. It was really fun. Auburn, I counted A&M out. Auburn was up 21-zip. I was like, dang, this game's done. Auburn's rolling right now. A&M comes all the way back. We get scoring galore in the 4th quarter and overtime. There was kicking issues potentially for Auburn. That's why they didn't want to kick from distance. They got it down pretty close to kick the game tying field goal to send it to overtime. And then how about in overtime, Auburn gets stopped or gets a stop on the first possession of overtime. They get a field goal. Auburn gets stopped. They kick a field goal. Second overtime, Auburn goes down. I forget how it went down. I think they scored touchdowns in overtime. Yeah, I think they both scored touchdowns in the first overtime. Field goals in the second overtime. Third overtime, they both missed their 2-point attempts. Fourth overtime, Auburn goes first. They get theirs. Texas A&M runs a reverse pass, and it falls just short. The guy dropped it, really. It went right through his hands, Amari Daniels. And Auburn stormed the field and wins defensively. Let's go with the second guy there. Nose tackle, Jalen McLeod for the Tigers. 10 tackles, 8 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Auburn plus 2.5 wins outright over 47.5. Quite easily, 84. Number 22, Iowa State, keeping their Big 12 hopes alive, 31-28 over Utah. God, dude, I almost had y'all. I picked Utah, lone wolfed them. Thought the Utes might get it done. They needed to win out to get to a bowl, and Iowa State shut the season down. And Utah, actually, they kicked a field goal. They missed the game-tying field goal at the end. So that was tough to see for Utah. And it's been a rough season for Utah, team that Logan and I both thought would face Arizona in the Big 12 championship game, and neither team has done very well this year. But, story of the game here. How about Isaac Wilson, 100%? I don't know if he got hurt in this game or if he came in for Luke Batari, but 74 yards, 8 of 8, and a fumble. Carson Hansen for the Cyclones, 2 touchdowns for him. Also threw a 26-yard pass. Monster game for Jaden Higgins, the Iowa State wide receiver, 9 for 155 and a score. And defensively, I got to go with the guy that scored a touchdown, Utah linebacker Lander Barton. 2 tackles, 1 solo, an 87-yard pick six. Utah plus 3.5. They did cover by the hook, and over 42.5, 59. We had 2 FCS games of the week because they were massive showdowns the last week of the regular season for the FCS. Number 2, Montana State. How about the Bobcats undefeated 12-0, 34-11 destruction of their intrastate rival, number 9 Montana. Tommy Mellott, he didn't have to throw the ball a lot, just 50% passing, 94 yards, touchdown. But he ran it well, 10 carries, 50 yards, a touchdown on the ground. Logan Fife struggled for the Grizz in this one, just 117 passing yards. Montana State got a pretty good game by their running back, though. Adam Jones, 25 carries, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, also had a 4-yard catch. And receiving-wise, touchdown reception for tight end Rohan Jones for the Bobcats as well. No defensive stats to talk about in this one because we don't get tackle stats on ESPN's app anyways. Montana State minus 16.5 covered, under 54.5. And you are now looking at the number 1 seed in the FCS playoffs as the bracket got announced on Sunday, yesterday. And Montana did make it as well. They are, I believe they are seeded as well. Yeah, they are 14th, the 14th seed. So FCS playoffs, 24 teams get in, top 16 seed are seeded. So yeah. These 2 teams also in the FCS playoffs, but a shocker the last week. Number 4, South Dakota, 29-28 win over number 1, North Dakota State. And Aiden Bauman, pretty solid, 60%, 272, 2 touchdowns. Cam Miller struggled, just 45.5%, 174, a touchdown. However, he always has good rushing numbers, 19 carries, 82 yards, and a touchdown. And this one, luckily for South Dakota, I think they do like most FCS conferences where you can have shares of the title. And I feel like you'd have to do it in this case because, or actually, no, South Dakota. Yeah, you'd have to do it because South Dakota State beat South Dakota, who beat North Dakota State, who beat South Dakota State. So they all 3 beat each other. They all finished 7-1 in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So probably all 3 having a share of the MVFC title. Forgot to mention Montana State winning the Big Sky because of their win over Montana. But yeah, Travis Teese leading the game outside of Cam Miller, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Coyotes running back there, 2 touchdowns for the Bison running back Shamar Brown as well. 79 yards on 3 catches, touchdown for South Dakota wide receiver Javian Phelps leading the game in receiving. North Dakota State, number 2 seed in the FCS playoffs. By the way, the top 8 seeds in the FCS playoffs get byes. So the Bison and the Bobcats and South Dakota, actually, the Coyotes, all sitting pretty, getting a week off, enjoying their Thanksgiving weekend. South Dakota plus 3 wins outright, over 55.5. On to the NFL. Chiefs 30-27 are the Panthers. I know you're pissed, Jimmy. I know you're pissed.
So close. Almost Bryce Young legacy game.
Yeah, I had the Chiefs spread, man. I didn't think the Panthers had any chance. But what you got to say is, look, Chiefs are vulnerable. They are very vulnerable right now. Lost to Buffalo, and now they almost lost to the Panthers. I don't know. Maybe.
I saw a really good comparison. They're a lot like the 2017 and 2020 Steelers. You remember that 2020 Steelers that started 11-0? Like, Yeah, you as a Steeler fan, like you know kind of what I'm talking about. Just this like, yeah, you win a lot. You know,
One
Steeler in the case of
score.
Steelers 11-0, but it's like it's very frustrating. It's very exhausting. You play down the competition. You don't put teams away, and it's like at some point, the other shoe's gonna drop, and that's just how it feels with this Chiefs squad. And we kind of got a sneak peek of that in their Bills game last week, and this is just another example. Like, I'm sorry, these are the Panthers. Like, this should have been like 30-7, not 30-27.
Right, seven of their no, 8 of their 10 wins, one score.
Yeah, like
The only ones, they beat the Saints by 13 and they beat the Niners by 10.
Yeah, I mean, remember the Vikings 2022?
Yeah,
Similar deal. It's just you're a good team. Good teams win, but like, how good can you be against really good competition? We saw against the Bills, and they weren't good. So,
and that's going to be an issue because their schedule not easy. They get the Raiders on Black Friday, right? But
good for them. It's probably, I'm guaranteeing you, it's going to be like 24-21 or something.
They just got this game. Well, the Raiders got them last year too.
They did. I really like. It's gonna be stupid, and I think Aiden O'Connell is expected to come back.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's gonna be Desmond Ridder.
But then they got the Chargers, who are playing good ball. We'll see them tonight. The Browns, who just beat the Steelers, and that's in Cleveland, so you never know. It might be snowing again. And then the end of the season is it's tough. It might be if the Texans stop playing like the Texans right now, because they haven't been good the last couple. But they got the Texans, the Steelers on Christmas Day, and the Broncos.
That's some tough defenses at the end of the year.
All right. Those last, actually, the last 5. The Raiders are the only non-tough defense. 5 of the last 6 are probably all in the top 10/top 5. But anyways, into this game, Mahomes. He did Mahomes stuff at the end of the game. 3 touchdown passes, 73%, 5 carries, 60 yards, including the game-winning, essentially run down the sideline where I saw a couple of people like, just push him out of bounds. But yeah, again, I'm getting maybe too excited, Jimmy, about 2025 in Carolina. Bryce, man, he is playing well, very well. This was probably his best game as a pro, taking shots in the pocket and just dropping dimes off of those. He was reading it well. And once again, he didn't make the mistake that he had been making.
I'll say this. If Carolina's defense is fully healthy coming into this game, they might have won this. Won this game.
Well, yeah, they sacked Mahomes.
Was it 5 times?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, they got to him. And, that wasn't even a fully healthy defense.
Yeah, 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. But yeah, I was disappointed. Jonathan Brooks didn't get anything. He got 2 carries, 7 yards, no receiving work. But again, I didn't like the Chuba Hubbard extension for that reason, but it's okay. How about David Moore leading the game in receiving? Man came out of nowhere. Caught 6 of his 10 targets, 81 yards, touchdown. 2 touchdown day for tight end Noah Gray. Dude, I don't think he's available in any of my dynasty leagues, but I got to check because that he's having a season, and he is by far the heir apparent to Travis Kelce. So, yeah, I think he has 4 touchdowns the last 2 games. I think he has back-to-back 2-score games. And defensively, I'm going with one of those Panthers defenders, Jimmy, linebacker Jadeveon Clowney, 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. Panthers plus 11.5 covered, over 42.5, 57. Bucks crushing the Giants. This was one of my favorite plays of the weekend. Bucks -6. Baker was outstanding, 80%, 294. The only issue, Baker, why did number 13 not get a touchdown? I'm pissed. Would have won me a bet. Baker ran a touchdown in, and of course did the Tommy Cutlets celebration, which was fantastic to see, especially because it was in MetLife Stadium. Tommy, he was all right. It's just the Giants are horrendous. And by the way, that's 2-9, not 29. My bad. Speaking of another outstanding, Bucky Irving is the dude. He's the dude.
He's the dude.
12 carries, 87 yards, touchdown. Caught all 6 of his targets for 64 yards. And Tyrone Tracy, I'm concerned that he might not be the dude soon because he's getting some dropsies. 2 fumbles in the last 3-4 games. I can't remember how long ago the Munich game was. But yeah, it's 2 fumbles in the last 3 or 4 games. And so it's like, can you continue to trust him? I don't know.
Draft Ashton Genty in the draft. Come on. It's like drafting Saquon 2nd overall. Do it.
Sean Tucker, vulturing touchdowns from White and Irving there in the first score of the game. Mike Evans, returning in this one. Good game. Caught 5 of 6 targets, 68 yards. And defensively, I'm going to go with Bucs linebacker Anthony Nelson. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles lost, 2 QB hits. Bucs -6.5, covered under 40.5. What a crazy game. Cowboys 34-26 over the Commanders. And this is another team that it's like, bro, like, what is happening? What is happening to Washington right now? Because they are going downhill. 3 straight losses. And Jaden Daniels turning the ball over, 2 picks. Did have 3 total touchdowns, 74 rushing yards, 275 passing. Cooper Rush, though, looked good for the first time this year. 75%, 247, 2 touchdowns. And, you know, the thing is, like, Cooper, what does his record show, right? He's, 5-3, I think. And he's only, 5-2, I think. Something like that. And, you know, he only really loses to the Eagles. He beats mostly everyone else. So that's kind of something that's funny. But, yeah, he was good. No turnover, 75%, 247, 2 touchdowns. They got their ground game going for the first time this season. Rico Dowdle, 86 yards on 19 carries. Something that Washington couldn't do. Brian Robinson Jr. injured in the second quarter, wasn't able to come back, and they just could not run the ball. Eckler got concussed as well in this game. So it was down to McNichols and Jaden Daniels. They couldn't run the ball. How about Scary Terry? 102 on 5 catches. Caught 5 of 6 targets. Touchdown, which was ridiculous. 86-yard touchdown reception. That, just like the Rutgers play, is like someone tackle. 10 targets for Noah Brown, caught 6 for 71. 12 targets for CeeDee Lamb, 10 for 67 for him. And defensively, Micah Parsons, 8 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits. I forgot to put the return touchdowns on here. Kevontae Turpin, 99-yard kick return touchdown, and I forget the other guy's name. Josh Butler, I think, the corner. I don't remember how many yards it was, but returned the onside kick for a touchdown as well. That gave Washington a chance. Oh, Austin Seibert. Good Lord, he cannot. Cowboys plus 10.5 went outright over 44.5, 60. Dolphins beating up on the Patriots 34-15. They are almost at 500. Can they get to it on Thanksgiving, Jimmy? We will see. Tua, though, masterful. 72.5%, 317, 4 tuds, A lot of people calling him Magic Johnson and whatnot. Drake May, yeah, I mean, he's just like the Panthers. I think Drake May setting up the Patriots for potentially a good 25. Neither team could run the ball, but luckily for my fantasy team, Devon Achane caught 2 touchdowns. Thank you. Antonio Gibson, just 31 yards for him. Jalen Waddle exploded in this one, caught 8 of his 9 targets for 144 and a score. A lot of defense in this one. How about Dolphins rookie linebacker Chop Robinson? Penn State, baby. 4 tackles, 2 solos, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss, 2 pass defense, 3 QB hits. Dolphins minus 7.5 covered over 45.5. God, dude, I have no clue what the Texans were doing in this game. Absolutely none. They had no defense, which is crazy because the defense in fantasy still ended up getting 17 points because they scored a defensive touchdown and they sacked Will Levis 8 times. It just, they couldn't cover the deep ball for some reason, and they couldn't stop the run. They couldn't do anything on defense besides the Jimmy Ward pick 6 and sacking Will Levis. But it didn't matter because all they did was, okay, we're in long yardage situation. Let's throw a deep bomb to Calvin Ridley. Cool.
I mean, what was it? Like, weren't 6 of those sacks and that pick 6 in the first half? So in the second half, that defense really disappeared.
No, the pick 6 was in the fourth quarter.
Oh, it was. It was.
Yeah.
But I know like 6 of the 8 sacks were like in the first half.
Yeah, I think 5. I think
5 or 9 it was
5 at halftime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just, like, if the Colts weren't the Colts, like, I don't know if the Texans would still be leading this division if the rest of the division wasn't the division.
Yeah, I mean, this is a joke of a division. I mean, at least at the NFC West, you could say they are competitive bad teams, but this is just 3 really bad teams and a bad team that is just skating by.
Right, and you look at it like, what are the playoffs set up right now? The playoffs, well, it depends on tonight's game who's in the 5 and 6 seed, because if the Chargers win, they're in the 5. Ravens win, they're in the 5. But yeah, like, I don't think there's a chance. The Chargers, well, yeah. We know what the Chargers do in the playoffs, but
kind of their thing.
The way that the Chargers and the Ravens are right now, I don't think either of them going to Houston for a wild card. I think they will win. I don't think the Texans would win that game. So, yeah, Stroud, 2 picks. He continues to just be stupid and throw stupid passes. Will Levis, 75%, 278, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and a fumble. Tony Pollard, like I said, like, bro, like, where did this come from? 24 carries, 119 touchdown, caught 3 of his 5 targets for 10 yards. One big thing, dude, the Texans weren't able to run the ball at all. 22 yards on 14 carries for Joe Mixon. This is atrocious. Calvin Ridley, like I said, mentioned, he had a big day, 93 yards on 5 catches, 6 targets. Nico Collins, 5 of 9 targets for 92 yards, touchdown. And a lot of defense. I got 2 guys. Your boy, Daniil Hunter, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 3 sacks, 5 tackles for loss, 3 QB hits. And then the touchdown score there, Jimmy Ward for Houston as well, 6 tackles, all of them solos, 3 tackles for loss, 1 pass defense, 65-yard pick 6. I will say, though, watching the game as well, I don't know what his stats were, but mentioned the Texans couldn't run the ball. Tavondre Sweat, the rookie, was phenomenal in the interior of that Titans defensive line. Big part of why the Texans weren't able to run the ball. He was just mauling people. And the one play I saw, he literally just like threw the Texans O lineman into CJ Stroud. Titans plus 7.5 went out right over 40.5. Lions keep winning 24-6 over the Colts. Jared Goff, decent day, 72.2%. Didn't have to do a lot. They got good ground game from Jahmyr Gibbs, 2 touchdowns for him. Monty scored as well. Anthony Richardson was back to doing Anthony Richardson things, 39.3%, 172, 61 yards on the ground. Another game where a team wasn't able to run the ball. Jonathan Taylor, just 35 yards. Like, what are you doing, Shane Steichen? He is your best player on offense. Jonathan Taylor is your best player on. Why is he only getting 11 carries for 1? He should be getting 20 carries. Like, and that's the type of player that Jonathan Taylor is. He's that Wisconsin running back, right? Like, you need that high volume to get going. And it also helps your offense because we see it with teams like the Ravens, teams like the Eagles continue to pound, and eventually you're going to break one. So I don't know. Shane Steichen, they need to give Jonathan Taylor more carries. If they want to do anything the rest of the year, JT has to be the focal point, and he has to be given more touches. Michael Pittman Jr. just short of 100, caught 6 of 7 targets for 96 yards. A lot of good defense in this one. I'm going to go with the Colts defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, 7 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 QB hits. Lions minus 6.5, covered under 49.5, only 30 in that one. Vikings getting it done, 30-27 in overtime. It was back-to-back division games, win by 3.
Oh yeah,
or not. Never mind.
No.
I'm thinking Packers last week. I don't know why I was thinking about the Packers. Anyways, Vikings getting it done though, 30-27. Go ahead.
Well, again, I didn't watch this game for my mental health. Well, I did put it on after they took the 11-point lead because I was like, all right, I get to watch some victory formation. Woo!
After I sent the Skull Vikes.
Yeah, I was like, all right, I'll put it on. I'll enjoy the last 2 minutes of this win, and then I had to watch. I had to watch that, and yeah, it wasn't a happy household. I turned it off after the onside kick because I was like, of course, here we go, they're gonna lose. But they made the kick, win the overtime. Great defensive stand. I don't know what Caleb Williams was doing on that second down play by just sitting in the pocket and doing nothing. At that point, you just got to run. But yeah, turn around, got the win in overtime. And this might be crazy here. I think I saw a stat. This is the first time in Viking franchise history, or at least in the last 20 years, that they've gone 3 straight weeks on the road and won all 3 games. Given, the first 2 games were against the Jags and Titans, but hey, wins are wins. And if you include the London game, because there's no real home team there, Vikings are 6-1 away from US Bank Stadium this season. That's great to see. And I think the biggest takeaway from this game is when Sam Darnold stops forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson when he's triple covered, other guys can really succeed. Just look at the stat line of guys like Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, and Jordan Addison. Free 3, am I right, boys? He went crazy today. And that's what you needed. You need Sam Darnold to just realize, yeah, I know your safety blanket is probably the best wide receiver this league has. But when they're covering him with 3 people, you just got to find another person. And he finally figured it out this week. No. And one last takeaway, I'll throw a bone out to Bears fans. Keep Thomas Brown. This is the best Caleb Williams performance so far of his career, and I think Thomas Brown actually understands how to get a young QB like Caleb to be most effective. He looked good. He was very efficient today. So other than the sacks, Williams had his best game, and I really attribute that to Thomas Brown.
Yeah, Bears coming up short 2 weeks in a row against division opponents. Packers blocked field goal last week. Overtime lost this week to the Vikes. I will say I'm good on the Thomas Brown front. Saw that show in Carolina. I'm good.
We'll see. I don't think Eberflus is going to last in the next season. I think you kind of want consistency of the OC, and having three offensive play callers in 2 seasons with Caleb will just be a headache. I think Thomas Brown should at least retain going into next year.
Please don't take Kellen Moore from Philadelphia, Chicago, please.
I highly doubt it.
Caleb Williams, though, 68.1%, 340, 2 tuds, 33 yards rushing. Sam Darnold, 330, 2 tuds, 64.7%. Aaron Jones, over 100, 106, 22 carries, 1 touchdown, a fumble, 3 catches, 23 yards. Bears couldn't run the ball at all. That has been an issue for them a lot this year. DeAndre Swift, just 30 yards. Jordan Addison, though, exploded. Career game. Caught 8 of his 9 for 162 touchdown. TJ Hawkinson, also over 100. Thank you for the fantasy points. Hawk, 7 of 9 targets for 114. DJ Moore, also over 100. Caught all 7 of his for 106 and a touchdown. 15 targets for Keenan Allen. Caught 9 for 86 and a touchdown. Cole Kmet, 10 targets. Caught 7 for 64. Roma Dunze, also 10 targets. 5 for 39. You get 10 targets. You'd get 10 targets. Caleb Williams dishing them out there. Defensively, it's Jonathan Grenard. 6 tackles, 5 solos, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits. Bikes, -2.5. Covered by the hook, over 39.5, easily 57 in that one. Broncos, back on the winning track, 29-19 over the Raiders. Bo Nix, he's give him the O'Roy, baby. He's rolling. Jaden Daniels is struggling in Washington. They got the same record now, so that washes out. And Bo Nix is on fire. 273, 2 touchdowns. Excellent game for Bo Nix, even though sub 60% completion. Gardner Minshew injured in this one. Not very good. 59.5%, 230 touchdown and an interception. Desmond Ridder was poultry, 50%, 64 yards and a fumble. Jacoby Myers had a ridiculous game out of nowhere. 15 targets, caught 10 for 121. 10 targets for Cortland Sutton. He had a great game. 8 for 97 and 2 touchdowns. 10 targets for Brock Bowers as well. One of the other leading candidates for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Caught just 4 of the 10 targets, though, for 38 yards. Defensively, I'm going to go with Raiders, or actually, no, Broncos linebacker Nick Bonito, 3 tackles, all of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles lost, 1 QB hit. He was a pressure monster on Minshew and Ridder all day. Broncos -5.5, covered over 41.5. Packers annihilating the 49ers in Lambeau. 49ers didn't have all their pieces. Jimmy and I, we should get a pass on that one, but it is a loss column for us and the Niners. Brandon Allen struggled a lot, just 199, 58.6%, 1 touchdown, pick and a fumble. Jordan Love didn't have to do a lot. He got a lot of help from Josh Jacobs, 56.5%, 163, 2 touchdowns. Shaking of Jacobs, big game for him, 26 carries, 106, 3 touchdowns. Niners couldn't run the ball. CMC just 31 yards, 2.8 yards per carry, and a fumble. George Kittle had a great day, caught all 6 of his targets for 82 yards and a touchdown on a otherwise bad offensive output for San Fran. Leonard Floyd, though, for the San Fran defense, had a good day. He's my defensive player of the game. Defensive end, had 4 tackles, all of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. Packers -6.5 covered, over 44.5. Seahawks taking first place in the NFC West, 16-6 over the Cardinals. This was horrendous. I don't know why I even watched this game. This was bad offense all day. Kyler, 64.9%, 285, a pick. Geno Smith, 71%, but 254, a touchdown and a pick. Neither team could run the ball. Kenneth Walker is 41 yards, 2.6 yards per carry. 18 yards. Trey Benson led the Cardinals in rushing. Kyler Murray, 9 yards on 2 carries, I believe his stats were. They got a big game from tight end Trey McBride, though, in the loss. 15 targets, caught 12 for 133. And defensively, it's 2 guys. It's Seahawks corner Kobe Bryant, 6 tackles, all of them solos, 1 pass defense, 69-yard pick 6. Horrendous throw by Kyler. I have no clue what you're doing, bro. throw it out of bounds and lived to fight another day because you were never going to make that throw to Michael Wilson over top of Kobe Bryant. And defensive end Leonard Williams for Seattle, he was a monster in the middle. 6 tackles, 3 solos, 2.5 sacks, 3 tackles lost, 1 pass defense, and 4 QB hits. Seahawks plus 1.5 win outright under 46.5 easily. Eagles, go Birds, baby. It was a fantastic night in LA last night. 37-20 over the Rams. Matthew Stafford, 66.7%, 243, 2 touchdowns, 1 carry for 15 yards. I hate you, Matthew Stafford. Would have won a play with the total under 53.5. It was Barry's best bet. Barry's pick 3 or whatever the hell it was on the pregame show. Went with it under 53.5. Of course, the Rams had to score a bullshit touchdown at the end to go over that. So pissed off about that, but it's okay. Eagles had a great night. Jalen Hurts, 68.2%, 179 touchdown, 12 carries, 39 yards. Saquon Barkley, though, he is a godsend. Career high in rushing. Eagles record in rushing, 26 carries, 255 yards, 9.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, both from 70+, and 4 catches for 47 yards. Saquon, 30 touches, 302 total yards and 2 touchdowns. Excellent night. And not enough, though, for me in fantasy. That's how bad my team is, even on the cusp of the playoffs right now. Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua, over 100, 9 of his 13 targets for 117. AJ Brown, 100-yard night for him. Caught 6 of his 7 for 109 and a touchdown. 11 targets for Cooper Kupp. Caught 8 for 60 and a touchdown in this one. And defensively, it's the man. The bottom 2 guys, defense tackle Milton Williams for Philly, 2 tackles, both of them solos, 2 sacks, 2 tackles lost, 3 QB hits, and defensive end Brandon Graham, very, very tough loss for him. 2 tackles, both of them solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles lost, 1 pass defense, 3 QB hits. Eagles minus 2.5 covered over 47.5. And we do have some breaking news. The Broncos, they have released tight end Greg Dulcich. So that was something that was kind of crazy. A draft pick not too long ago. And so he will be on waivers this week. Going to college football news, transfer portal FAU safety CJ Hurd, part of the 24/7 Sports midseason all freshman team. He is in the portal. Tulsa has fired their head coach Kevin Wilson, 7-16 in his second season this year. This is now the 6th AAC head coach opening. So massive turnover around the AAC. I think I talked about this last time when we had 3 coach firings in the AAC. So it's going to be crazy. The new schemes, the new systems, it's going to be a little bit of adjustment, I think, for the other half of the league that is retaining their head coaches, that they got to learn a whole, new offense, whole new scheme that they're going against when they play some of these teams with new coaches in 2025. UFL news. The UFL is expanding. They've announced starting their expansion process, potentially going to 10 teams in 2026. So staying with 8 in 25, 2026 and beyond, potentially 10 teams. I know they said Columbus and Louisville were the 2 top teams essentially that they are looking at for their expansion. NFL news, Patriots getting some good news. Safety Jabril Peppers has been reinstated from the commissioner's exempt list, so he is now eligible to practice and play for New England. Big help on the defensive side there. IR, the Panthers placing running back Miles Sanders on IR. Hamstring, I believe, is his issue. Getting the practice window open, though, today. 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw. So massive boost potentially coming for the San Fran defense. Will it matter, though? That is the big issue. Will it matter? Can they win enough to stay in the playoff hunt and the divisional hunt down the stretch for Greenlaw's impact to make an impact? Pup activation. Dolphins getting offensive lineman Isaiah Wynn back. So big addition there on the O-line. Injuries. How about the Chiefs potentially getting back wide receiver Hollywood Brown very much earlier than they expected? Shoulder surgery. He had a dislocated sternoclavicular joint there. Could return potentially on Christmas against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Raiders quarterback Gardner Minshew, he is out for the season. Broken collarbone yesterday. Same thing can be said for Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham, torn triceps in last night's game, done for the year, and unfortunately probably his last game as an Eagle. Bucs safety Jordan Whitehead probably out for the season as well. He has a torn pec. The Colts wide receiver Josh Downs, he is week to week with a shoulder injury. And for the Texans safety Jalen Petrie, he is out multiple weeks. Partial pec tear there for the Texans all-star safety. Good news for the Raiders. They are getting Aiden O'Connell back at practice this week, just like Jimmy said. What extension to announce? It came out last show, but I forgot to mention it. So we'll do so now. The Chiefs getting some help. They signed Cardinals offensive tackle DJ Humphries to a 1-year, $2 million deal, $4.5 million max value for that, and could be potentially impactful coming down the stretch here. Jawan Taylor's been a penalty machine at right tackle, I believe, and could slide in DJ Humphries. He's fully healthy now, so big boost potentially for KC. And for the Vikings, they released corner Caleb Evans. He was a 2022 fourth-round pick. Started a bunch of games, special teams contributor as well. He was now claimed by the Panthers whenever waivers went through last time, and so could be a big boost for Carolina coming down here as well. Pick standings. John dropped 2. So he is now very squarely in the basement. Logan Holding serve up top, 2 games above Jimmy, 4 games above myself, and 5 for above John. And so the last couple of shows, since we haven't had a Monday show in a while, we all lost the Rams on Monday Night Football Week 10. Logan and I, we were on the Eagles against the Commanders last Thursday night. So him and I got those wins there. And then John lone wolfed the Cowboys on Monday Night Football against the Texans. So he lost there. We all lost the Steelers on Thursday this week. And that is the recap there. Oh, and we also all got Jimmy lone wolfed the Bengals Week 10 Thursday Night Football, so he lost that one. So no lone wolves have been hit yet on the Monday show. Will it happen tonight? Logan is rolling with the LA Chargers in HarBowl III. They are at home. They are playing very well. Good defense, which I expect them to do once again. The one thing why I'm picking the Ravens, it very much scared me that the Bengals were able to just throw the ball all around the field. That's not really what the Ravens want to do. They want to run it with Derrick Henry, which I think the Chargers are set up to stop very well. However, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson potentially takes a bigger step with Baltimore this week. And I think if the Ravens are going to win, they're going to have to throw the ball. Mark Andrews has to be a big staple as well. And I just think the Ravens are a more complete team. It's going to be interesting to watch them defensively because their defense has let them down at times. But it's another tough, rough and tumble type of game, I think, just like they played against the Steelers. And we'll see if they can get it done. I know John is currently 2-0 in the series against his brother Jim. They beat him in the Super Bowl. They beat him in the Super Bowl 47 when the Ravens beat the 49ers. And they also beat them in, not sure what the other game was. But regardless, 2-0 for John. Jim looking for his first win against his brother in the HarBowl III. This one total is 50.5. I am leaning on the under. 8:15 p.m. ABC and ESPN Plus. Thanksgiving. So this is where the standings might shake up. I don't know. We're all picking a lot of the same teams. Wasn't able to get Logan's picks in here, so don't mind whatever logos you see on his pick. Thanksgiving. Starting it off, the Bears at the Lions. More than likely, I think Logan's going to pick the Lions anyways, so it is a sweep for Detroit. This one's kind of scary. The Packers got them last year on Thanksgiving. Don't think the Bears had the firepower for that, though, and I like the Lions at home. 10.5 is a lot. I might look at taking the Bears. It's at 11 actually now, so potentially on plus 11 for Chicago. Total is 48.5, though. I like the over. Give me the over. A lot of points here in Detroit. 12:30 p.m. CBS. The afternoon game on Thursday, Giants at the Cowboys. Had to think Logan's picking Dallas as well. Could not, in my mind, understand why he would pick Tommy Cutlets. Dallas played well last week. They haven't won at home this year yet, so that would be a reason, I guess, for picking the Giants. But I don't care. The Dallas defense, I think, is going to give the Giants offensive line a lot of problems. Just like the Bucs did this past weekend. And short week for Tommy Cutlets. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. Total is 38.5, and I am leaning on the under 4:30 p.m. on Fox. And the Thanksgiving nightcap, Dolphins at the Packers. This one I think is going to be a lone wolf. I don't think Logan's not going to pick his Packers. So Jimmy is wolfing the Miami Dolphins on a Thanksgiving night. And I don't blame him. Tua looked fantastic. But they were playing the Patriots. And it's going to be intriguing to see if they can play in the cold weather, because that's the big shaboo about Miami, is that they can't play in cold weather. So we will see. Packers 3-point favorites, potentially like that. Total is 47.5, and I like the over. Give us some points in Green Bay. 8:20 p.m. NBC, Peacock, and Universo. And on Black Friday, we have the Raiders at the Chiefs. This is probably a 4 Arrowhead slate here. This is crazy. 13.5. I like the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell coming back to play. It's tough, but the Raiders got them last year late in the season, and I think they could potentially play well enough to cover, especially with the Chiefs playing 9 of their 10 games ending in one score. So give me the Raiders plus 13.5. If you're getting 2 touchdowns, that's crazy. 42.5 is the total. I am leaning on the under. 3 p.m. Prime Video, Black Friday. And next week, we're kicking off week 14 with the Packers-Lions Thursday night game. We also got the week 13 capper with the Browns at the Broncos. Could potentially shake up the AFC wildcard standings, but the Broncos have a pretty good hold on that right now. But yeah, that Thursday night one in Detroit's going to be intriguing, to say the least. Big NFC North implications there. Coach, we'll get you all your game recaps and game previews. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X, FAA_. bets as well. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. Appreciate all the views. Appreciate all the downloads. And we will see y'all back for Football Friday. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all.